Possibility Mom Business Summit. My name is Lisa Canning. I am so excited to be here with you. I have a sleeping Andrew on my chest, but every single Possibility Mom party would not begin without a party. So we're going to attempt to do a little seated dance party. If you have a baby strapped to you, join me in a little shimmy shimmy, okay? We're gonna just get ourselves ready for an amazing evening ahead. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is just little like pom-poms. Here we go, pom-poms. Okay, this is my favorite move, the sprinkler. Yeah, sprinkle. Okay, now we're gonna do a little disco. Ready? Disco. And really disco. Saturday night. Here we go. Little claps, and here we go. Pom-poms up. Welcome to the summit. Welcome everybody to the Possibility Mom Summit. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I cannot wait for us to dive into all of the content I've got for you this evening. A couple things to get us organized. Number one, if you are just stumbling upon this evening, here's the challenge of starting with a dance party. I'm out of breath before we have begun. I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to exhale. So if you are stumbling upon this, if you are just on Facebook, on YouTube, this video has shown up. I want to encourage you to go to this website right here, www.thepossibilitymomconference.com, and register for this conference, because what it is going to unlock is 60 interviews of incredible goodness for the Catholic mom entrepreneur. So if you have not signed up for this conference officially, it is completely free. Go there right now and sign up. Number two, the very best place to watch this is at this link right here, thepossibilitymomconference.com/live. And I want to encourage you to watch it there, because we have some fun interactive things happening there, including a fun little poll word cloud type thing where you can go ahead and type in where you are joining us from. So go ahead, type in over there if you're watching me on the /live page. Where are you joining me from tonight? I see I've got people from Milliken. I've got people from Georgetown, Texas, from La Grande, Oregon. Keep those entries coming where you are tuning in from this evening. I want to ensure that you know we're going to be continuing this conversation outside of this group, outside of this experience, in my Facebook group. And so navigate over to the Possibility Mom Success Circle on Facebook. And then finally, I want to encourage you to use the hashtag the Possibility Mom Business Summit at any point in the weekend ahead. If you're watching a talk and it strikes you, snap a picture of it, hashtag the Possibility Mom Business Summit, tag me on Instagram at Lisa Canning. I will respond back. I really want to know what resonates with you from this business summit, because we are going to have such a ride together this weekend, and I am so excited to be doing this with you. And then, of course, share this with a friend as you are going through the content. There are 60 interviews, you guys. 60 interviews as you're going through the content, as things resonate. If this live event is resonating, I want to encourage you to share it with a friend. And as we go through all of the content, please feel free to ask lots of questions. So I am live tonight, 8 p.m. through to 10 p.m. East. And then tomorrow I'm back with you again, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. East. And I've got some live guests. I want to encourage you to ask questions in real time. Your questions in Slido will come in on the live page. Questions on YouTube and Facebook will all come in. Just feel free to engage as much as possible with the content and with the speakers. I I cannot wait. I honestly like we're just it's just I am so excited. There's so much that's going to happen this weekend. And I want to really quickly share with you what we are doing tonight. And I don't have the slide up on my computer quickly, so I'm literally going to pull out my phone and I'm going to read to you what's happening tonight. So right now, you currently have in your inbox access to 60 pre-recorded interviews. I have had some amazing conversations with Catholic thought leaders, Catholic entrepreneurs, journalists, professors. Like it really is an interesting, broad collaboration, collection of incredible individuals, all speaking on this topic of Catholic motherhood and business. And so that link has landed inside of your inbox. If you do not have it, if you are confused, send me a DM on Instagram, reach out to my customer service team, info@lisacanning.ca, and we will help you. Tonight, we're going to be talking about why Catholic motherhood and entrepreneurship can and should coexist. Tonight, live, we're going to be joined by Henry Katarna, who goes by the moniker the Catholic CEO and has started this like incredibly interesting platform called the Catholic economy. We're going to be talking about what does it mean to build a Catholic economy and what does that mean for a mom who desires to be at home with her children. I really want to encourage you, if you have questions for Henry, to stay tuned for that live because we I just had an interview with him for his podcast that just released today. He did a pre-recorded interview as part of this summit, and there is really something to this conversation. So I want to encourage you to join us live. I'm going to be talking about the 6 essential components to a successful online business, and I'm presenting them in a way I have never taught before. I've got a framework that I have created that I'm just really excited. It is going to be unveiled here tonight. I have never taught it before inside of my group coaching in the way that I'm going to present it tonight. And we're going to talk about how to gain clarity around your unique call. That is everything that is coming up tonight. Let me know in the comments. Are you excited? We've got people all over, lots of Texas tonight. That's kind of fun. Texas represent North Carolina, Colorado. We have Chile in the house. Vaughan, my home and native land in Canada. Nipawa, Manitoba, Canada. So happy to have everybody. And just we're going to have all kinds of fun. If you are watching this on the slash live page, you can put your questions into the chat there. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, keep those questions coming. I will reference them and see them. Alrighty, we're going to get into our content tonight. Why Catholic motherhood and entrepreneurship can and should exist. And I'm going to share my slides with you because I want to begin this with a story. My journey to how you and I are now chatting this evening very much started off in a scene that looks like this. I was sitting in my minivan. Forgive me, I'm trying to I can multitask, but not really. When I am trying to talk, I don't really multitask very well. Let's do that already. So, our journey of meeting each other tonight started on a wintry day like this. I had just given birth to my fourth baby in a very short amount of time. And I had her in the car on this winter day, looking out at how pristine the snow looked. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is the opposite of how my car currently looks. My car at that time was covered in goldfish crackers, in apple juice containers, in every single fast food garbage bag you could think of under the sun, and multiple car seats of multiple sizes. And just days out of the hospital, I was bringing my sweet little Rose to a construction site. On the outside, I looked like I had everything together. I was constantly smiling. I always had lipstick on. I wanted to portray this happy life of pursuing my design career and being open to life at the same time. But what was very not apparent to the public underneath the TV segments, working with people like the Property Brothers, traveling across the United States and Canada, building my television and interior design career, was that I was miserable. I hardly saw my children. I was working easily 80 to 100 hours a week. My adrenal glands were like 100% failing. My husband resented my work. I was hardly ever home. And when I was home, I wasn't really present because I was thinking about work. I was always on my phone. And the biggest thing is that I felt like I had no choice. I felt like there was no other way to do um, work. Like this was just it. And I also felt like I had these boxes that I had to kind of operate within. And the box that I was putting myself in was, well, this is just what success looks like. You kind of just do this. You sit in this box, you play nicely with the other people, the other toys, whatever in the box, and this is it. This is how you are. This is how you behave. This is how you should behave. And I had all kinds of other, boxes in my life. I had people, well-intended people, um, on both sides, like sort of on the side of me pursuing my interior design career, telling me that children were going to be an impediment to my dreams, and then I had people on the other side who were telling me, like you shouldn't be working. You really should just be home. And I had all these shoulds. And let me know in the comments, wherever you're watching this, if you can relate to this feeling of the shoulds. This is how you should be operating. This is how you should behave. And what we call this in the coaching world is a manual. We all walk around with these unconscious, like most of the time, completely unconscious manuals, meaning a, a way that we should operate based on maybe what our parents told us, based on experiences that we had that were negative, based on a myriad of reasons, we might walk around with all of these manuals. And so, of course, I had this manual of, well, this is the only way success can happen. So I'm going to live inside of this tightly bound box. But what I want to encourage us to explore, what is at stake tonight, is if we listen to these manuals without any discernment, without any awareness, if we follow these manuals that we are not conscious that we want to follow, what is at stake is God's beautiful, incredible plan for our lives. And what the Lord would very patiently help me to realize was that there was a plan so much more beautiful than anything I could have ever pictured. A plan that included being open to as many children as the Lord intended, a plan that included the pursuit of work, the pursuit of using my skills, the pursuit being a good steward of my time and my energy, and being able to be very present to my young and growing family. When I was back in that time of feeling trapped, feeling like I had no choice, feeling like this is the only version of success that exists, I wish someone had come along and said, Lisa, there is something so much better. There is so much possibility. You are not trapped. And all you got to do is trust the Lord. Trust the Lord, listen to his voice, and then have the courage to step out into that place of things unseen. I love St. John Henry Newman, and his full prayer is so good. God has created me to do some um, definite service. He has committed some work to me, which he has not committed to another. I have my mission. St. Augustine, without God, we cannot, but without us, God will not. We can relent. We can let go. I had so tightly was holding on to that box, that version of success that I thought was the only way I could support my family. I could be happy. I could be fulfilled. But we can participate. We can show up to our own life. We can discern and discover what the Lord wants for us. And He invites us to do that. Without us, it's not going to happen. And why do we know it's good? Because He has told us. It is all over Scripture. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for welfare and not for woe, to give you a future and a hope. And here's the thing, I now coach so many women after that minivan meltdown that I affectionately call it, that day in my minivan with my daughter, bringing her to a construction site just days out of hospital. It wasn't like the path from where I am now to from then was simple. There was a lot. I mean, there continues to be a lot of fight, and we're going to explore this theme extensively in this weekend ahead. There is an extensive, beautiful theme of perseverance explored in a lot of the interviews and what we're going to chat about live tonight. It can be so easy to think there's no way I can do that. There's no way I can rip up the box, burn the box, and create a brand new, beautiful, boxless life. But what do we read in Second Corinthians? But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness. So I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. We cannot forget, and I think this is where it becomes very difficult for entrepreneurs. When you think about it, if you are thinking about business, you are probably a bit of a go getter. You know what I mean? You probably have a bit of a type A personality, or you probably have some kind of gumption, let's say, right? And that comes with a need then, or maybe a desire to control, to plan, to um, see the best way forward. And that can be scary. Let's just be honest. That can be very scary. But we have to remember again what our Lord tells us. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me and find me, and when you seek me with all your heart, I will be found by you. We do not do this alone. Grace is the ultimate change agent. And when we have that confidence, I argue that Catholic motherhood and entrepreneurship can and should coexist. This weekend, we are going to explore what it means to discern the call that God has for your life, if business is something that is for you, We're going to explore then if you have discerned, like, yes, this is for me. What does that look like in action? What does it look like to do the very practical things of business, like launching a website, picking a niche, building things called funnels, building pages on a website? We're going to explore what that looks like in practice. We're also going to explore in this summit what it looks like to do this in the very real. How do you nurse a baby when you're on a Zoom call? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to teach you how to do that. You might watch me do that, but we're going to explore, what does this look like to do practically? How do you prioritize your marriage when you're building a business? How do you homeschool your children when you're building a business? What are some of the things that we should actually hold on to, like that are very important to actually retain, so to speak, in terms of fearing that we might not show up well for our family? We're going to explore all of that. And we're going to explore what it looks like to persevere. What does it look like to persevere when, again, you burn dinner because you were writing a blog post and totally engrossed? Or what does it look like when drop the ball on something for a client because you were cleaning up puke, for example? What does it look like to manage your mind through all of that? What does it look like to trust the Lord? What does it look like to relent of ungodly self reliance and completely give our businesses to the Lord? I think it is, and feel free to disagree with me, put it in the comments wherever you're watching this, but I think that it can be easy to forget the Lord in business. And let me expand on that. I think, at least in my experience growing up, I'm a cradle Catholic. So grateful to my parents for raising us in the faith. And I went to all the things. I went to Steubenville conferences. I went to Life Teen things. I had wonderful, good exposure to Catholic influences. And I would hear, put Jesus in the center of your marriage, put Jesus in the center of your motherhood, put Jesus in the center of your home. But I would not really hear conversations. I mean, maybe someone else was having it, but I just didn't hear them. There weren't really many conversations around put Jesus in the center of whatever business or work activities you might be doing. And I think for me, and again, this is just my experience, but I think for me, I didn't, at all of my business training was secular. So I was hearing from voices who were saying things like, you got this, like, just like hustle harder, um, just like trust your gut. And these are not terrible things to say. Like, to say trust your gut and to say you got this, these are not inaccurate. And even, they're not even really harmful statements. But where they do become harmful, and where a Catholic entrepreneur needs to have some awareness around, is that it can become self reliant. And that was my experience. And there wasn't really anybody who was a Catholic and in business saying ungodly self reliance is actually what's going to get you really stuck. Ungodly self reliance, thinking that you have to do it all, that it's all on you, is actually really problematic. And where the growth and the intimacy happens is when you release and relent and are able to really fully trust the Lord with every step, with every webinar, with every email, with every lead magnet, with everything. Trust that the Lord will provide whatever it is you need. So, my invitation to everyone tonight watching this, And let me know in the comments if this is resonating. Is this fun for you? Is this something that you are wanting, needing? My invitation to you is to enter into this weekend with an open mind. Enter into this weekend asking the Lord to show you where maybe you need to trust Him, where maybe you need to take a little bit of a leap, where maybe you are being called to explore something. And if it's uncomfortable, you're probably on to something. And if you are like many of the people that I have spoken to in my um, last 2 years of moving into coaching, so I had a long interior design career. And then I wrote my book, The Possibility Mom. And then I started coaching in a little bit more of a, just a secular, general kind of life coaching manner, and then eventually got trained as a professionally trained Catholic mindset coach and started coaching people in business in an authentically Catholic way. If you are like many of the people that I've spoken to over the last few years, you might actually have a hard time believing that it's possible to be a mom and run a business in harmony. And again, this is what we're going to explore. So if this is uncomfortable to you, you're probably onto something. If this is uncomfortable to you, there is probably something the Lord wants to show you. And my invitation to you is to simply just come into it with an openness, come into it with a willingness to explore and to listen. I want to be an empathetic ear. I can't have one on one conversations with everybody on this summit. There are hundreds of women registered for this event. I can't have one on one conversations, but if I could, I would be an empathetic ear. I want you to take the 60 interviews that we are exploring that are available to you when you register for this conference at thepossibilitymomconference.com. I want you to explore in those interviews and see if there are questions that you can have answered through those interviews. Um, yeah, and just be open to what the Lord might be asking you to step into. I want to give you a taste of some of the interviews that are available to you when you join me at thepossibilitymomconference.com and when you log into that portal and get into those interviews. So, here is a taste of some of the goodness that's in your portal.
Found that at the heart of Christianity is this call from God to go from 0 to 1. So it's just natural that we take that same skill set that God gave to the apostles, that God gave to disciples, and we say, well, why wouldn't I deploy that same skill set when it comes to starting a business? And that the two actually can help each other. It's not that business takes us away from faith. It's that actually it can help our faith. And that our faith actually doesn't take us away from business. It can help our business.
God has ways that He just allows us to do what He made us to do. And we have to be open enough to just basically not get in God's way, I think.
How can it be missed that we need the voice of women in all things because of our unique gifts that we bring, the way that we view the world?
I mean, each person is unrepeatable. The world literally needs who you are.
You can do this. You can be Catholic and successful in business. You can be independent of the culture. And the price you'll pay maybe is the cross that our Lord asked us all to bear. If we can work together in our role as mother and father, husband and wife, to fulfill our duties according to God's laws, open to life. If you do a home-based business, you can combine all these things. You can keep the family together. We can teach our children entrepreneurial skills. We can teach our children to be independent of the culture, all in the home. And we can make money too, and we can supplement our family income, and eventually it can grow to the point where, everybody can have multi-generational family business. That's another dream we have is why not do this so that we can have longevity and permanency, have multi-generations where our children can stay close to the extended family and we can all work together in harmony.
I don't know about you, but the Holy Spirit is doing something kind of cool. The Holy Spirit is doing something kind of cool. And when I have this unique, beautiful opportunity to meet with 60 people, um, uh, I get to hear little snippets that obviously they're not talking to people, like to each other, right? And so when there are these common themes, my my Holy Spirit, spidey senses, you know what I mean? Like that my antenna goes up because I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting. There are some common patterns." And one of the patterns that has been very much popping up in 60 interviews, right, is this concept of the Catholic economy. And so I am so excited to bring on my next guest, or my first guest on tonight's Possibility Mom Business Summit. Henry Katarna is an experienced business executive and mentor. He is chair of a private investment. Hold on. Hold on. Are you not wanting to be in there? There you go. He is chair of a private family investment fund concentrating on manufacturing and real estate. He has personally capitalized 22 early stage technology deals. He has been a deputy minister of economic development, president of the Saskatchewan Diversification Corporation, deputy minister of social services. He is a private mentor and executive coach. He's a fellow Canadian, and he has recently started a platform called The Catholic Economy, which he speaks regularly about on his podcast. And I am so excited to dive into this conversation. Welcome to the Possibility Mom Business Summit, Henry Katarna. Henry, welcome.
Thanks very much, Lisa. It's very exciting to be here. Your enthusiasm is it's capturing attention.
Oh, you are
Thanks.
so much fun. So, what I want to dig into tonight is the Catholic economy. What does this mean? And how is building a Catholic economy, how can that keep families together at home? So, right off the top, if you'd be so kind, what does it mean to build a Catholic economy?
Well, what it means, Lisa, and to all of your participants today, it's a project that started at the Catholic CEO, which is our consulting firm and our ministry, which is based in Houston, Texas, and serves all of North America. But the Catholic economy grew because people came to us after a summit we held in January, and they said, we can do more as Catholics. We can help each other. We can help protect the family. We can help defend the family. We can help bring people together, hire each other, buy together, sell to each other, and so on and so on. So the Catholic economy idea grew from that, where people said, we as Catholics could become a more powerful force in the economy. We could do better. We could look after each other better. We can keep the family together. The family, as we all know, is the fundamental unit of society. And when you have, let's say, parents at work, away from home, children in, care of other people, or in the public school system, let us say, the idea of a Catholic economy could be that we could have family businesses. And I come from a family business. I love the idea because in a family business, you can work together. And so children see their parents more. The parents interact with each other more. The children interact with the parents more. You could have multi-generational businesses this way. So in simple form, we can support the family better by living in a Catholic economy. It takes deliberate steps, but we can do that, and we can look after each other much better.
And you explore this on your website, thecatholiceconomy.com. I really want to encourage people to go and check that out. You're hosting a series of events. You have one coming up on May 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, where you're exploring what this looks like, not just as a concept, but in action. You said something on a recent podcast, and I really want to encourage people to go and listen. You've done I don't know how many, a series of 12 or something, just exploring what it means to build a Catholic economy. And the thing that really resonated with me And forgive me, the piece of paper that I wrote it on is nowhere in my line of vision. But so I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. But you said that it when a family is able, so the Catholic economy, and when a family is able to work together, a husband and wife can fulfill. Finish this sentence because you say it so beautifully.
Right. Well, they can fulfill God's plan for the family and for marriage, for Catholic marriage, the unitive and procreative elements of marriage. That can all be accomplished better if we have a Catholic economy where we're working more closely together. That's what you've heard me say many times, and it's true. I do say it many times.
So I want to like unpack it because
Mhm.
I worked, as I shared this evening, I worked in a very secular world of interior design and television, and it took me out of the home a lot. Now, I had very little strategy. I had very little people speaking into me at that time that presented maybe a more balanced approach to it or what have you. I had this manual for this is just what it looks like. This is just what a TV career does, blah, blah, blah. So I could have used a little bit of guidance there, but I'm sure many people who might not be in as extensive or hour-long kind of career can relate to what I'm about to say, where there just simply is a tax on when a mother or a father is working outside the home. I mean, I think the pandemic showed us so many different interesting things where, absent of a commute, perhaps people are, have a little bit more time to just have a little bit more leisure or what have you. So when a family is able to be creative and pursue something at home, what does this allow?
Well, it allows, first of all, um, some resistance to what is increasingly happening to people who work in corporate America, corporate Canada. And that is that the corporation, the secular culture, let's call it, puts pressure on you to do things that increasingly are going to become against the Catholic faith. And we don't want that. We, of course, can't countenance that. That's not possible. So what it allows us to do is to create some independence from the culture in a way that still allows us to participate in the economy, because as our Lord has often said to us, you should be in the world, but not of it. So the Catholic economy and a family business helps us to become less dependent on the culture. Now, we're still working, we're still making money, we're still building a product or selling a service. Yes. But the thing is, we're closer together and independent. Second thing that it does, Lisa and all of your audience, the second thing it does is it strengthens the family. We said that a minute ago. It strengthens the family because there's unity then. There's a focus on a single, business or product or service. And that strengthens the family because when we interact with each other, we learn how to be charitable and kind and how to understand the hierarchy in a business, which can be different than the hierarchy in a family, things like that. And we learn skills. And then we can do this multi-generational, and that can create, it's like the great families of the world in history. The tremendous wealth that's been built up by certain families, not just Catholic families, is because they go generation after generation in the same business. We could do that too. And so then we could create a real independence from the culture. We could train our children. We could help parents in this unitive and procreative part of marriage bring their children to heaven. I think easier than if we let them be out there in the culture, widely influenced. I'm not talking being insular. I'm talking being smart about how we interact with the culture on our terms when we want to proclaim the gospel, let us say, and not just take what the culture gives us.
Amen. And, I do want to make the point that we need moms and dads in traditional jobs, I'll say, right? So we need good Catholics as doctors, as
Yes.
teachers, as things that cannot be done from home. So I really do want to make that point.
Yes.
But for those of us who potentially feel called, for those of us who feel like, I really think I could take a run at a home-based business, but might feel a little bit of fear. I do want to just, we are in an interesting economic time, like a time of this presentation. There's a lot going on in the world. You have coached, I don't know how many people, but I know you have a lengthy career. You have seen, I'm imagining multiple recessions, multiple fluctuations in the market. What would you say to anybody who's like, I have a comfortable job, like with benefits and with all kinds of other things. This is way too risky. I have way too much fear. In all of your experience, how would you encourage someone?
Well, the test of it always is, am I can I stay faithful to the faith? Can I stay faithful to our Lord and to the teachings of the church, for example? Can I do that when I work out in the culture, in the corporate world? If you can do that and you're performing a vital service, as you mentioned, doctor, or some really excellent service that people need, well, then good for you. But many people are finding increasingly the pressure is on them to do things that are against the Catholic faith. And so what I would say to people is, if you have some sort of a talent, an interest, you've been trained in a certain thing, you might want to explore starting a business. Now, it's challenging to start a business, just like anything else in life. If you have a corporate job, it's just challenging to do your work every day and to, rise up the corporate ladder, to do the commuting, to be away from home, to fulfill all the requirements of corporate life. And it isn't just a 40-hour week. Sometimes it can be more than that. And there's travel and you're away from home. But I would encourage people to explore the possibility of creating a business on their own that they could start at home, perhaps part-time or in a transitional way, go to a side gig, go to a part-time job, something like that. And then see the beauty of having independence, the ability to make your own products and services and serve your customers in a way different than what the culture demands of us. Laws tell us we have to deal with people in a certain way. We could be even better than that. So I would encourage people to be creative and to consider the possibility, because the rewards of having your own business, independence, the ability to set your own standards, your own time slots. Yes, it's hard work, sure, but so is everything in life. It can be fun, and it can be a way to keep your family together. And if it's not a family business, but it's just a home-based business, nothing wrong with that either. You can work on your own pace. You can control things. There's some tremendous advantages there, and it's pretty exciting, actually. So I would encourage people, try it out. Think about it. I've seen, as you rightly have said, hundreds of deals a year. I have a vantage point. I've seen things, and I've a little bit been there, done that. I'm of an age where you could say I've been there, done that. But people can do it. The ordinary person can do this. I have found that. It takes hard work. You have to be organized. You have to learn some things. But the ordinary average person can do this, and that's the exciting part.
Yeah. This reminds me of a conversation I often have with my mindset coach, who actually is going to be joining us tomorrow live as part of this summit. And I will often say to her, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to go get a job at the coffee shop, like just in exasperation, right? And she always retorts with, what is the alternative? Like, truly, like, really, is that what you want? And she often gets me to examine what I got in exchange. So, for example, yes, sometimes there are things like, you're worried about money coming in for the rest of the month. Tech challenges happen. And so then you don't get the sales that you thought you would, or what happens. There's a tremendous amount of faith involved in running a business. But she always forces me or invites me to consider, again, what's the alternative? Sure, you could go work somewhere else and maybe be guaranteed a certain amount of money per month, but you're not home with your children. You're not able to have lunch with your husband. You're not able to, and she gets me to recount, and tell her the advantages that have come with this state of life that I have discerned is what we are called into. There's something that you said too in our pre-recorded interview that's available to everybody who registers for this summit. And you said, and I'd love you to expand on this, just that it might be the cross that you're called to pick up. So for the Catholic, CEO, the Catholic founder, the Catholic entrepreneur, the Catholic mom who maybe hasn't made $500 yet, but is excited about that. How can business make us holy?
Very profound question. And I have tried to think of it, because you've asked me this before. How business can make us holy is because it can help us achieve the virtues. And so you just name any virtue: charity, justice, temperance, prudence. Let's say being in business where you're actually in charge, it's your business. Whether it's a small home-based business when you're making your favorite jam or sauce, or you're inventing some kind of a product, or you're providing a part-time accounting work at home, or whatever it is, you're in charge. So then you set the standard for the company. You're not just working for a corporation where the faceless, nameless people set the standards. You're actually doing it yourself. So you can set up your business to behave Catholic. You could do things like, for example, honor the family more, respect the family, have flexibility in the hours of work, or in the drop off and pick up times, the usual thing that families go through. You can create a situation where you go beyond what the law requires. You could head towards maybe a just wage, or you could head towards honoring families, giving, I don't know, half a day off on feast days or on important principal feasts. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception, you could have a half a day off, whereas the corporate world doesn't do that sort of thing. So it can help us practice the faith because we're in control. It can help us learn virtue because it forces us to interact with people close to us. And we're in charge. This is the key point. We're in charge. Therefore, we can say, I want to improve my virtue in this one, or I want to deal with my predominant fault over here, whatever it is. We can do it because we're in charge. We can set the standard. And that's the interesting part.
I think there's also a lot of potential in exploring what it looks like for moms to have babies. And I just mean in very maternity leave. Now, you and I are both Canadian. I'm living in the United States. I'm starting to get a very interesting perspective from the friends I've made here in the United States of maternity leave. And so it's very different. I'm not trying to debate Canada and US maternity leave, but if you are to create a business from home and maybe even employ other people, of course, there's so much greater flexibility that can be had, and creativity with maternity leave and with moms being close to their babies. And I'm really curious. I think that could be such an interesting differentiator in the Catholic economy, where you could examine a company's maternity leave policies and be like, that's a Catholic founder. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. This is so true. And I know Catholic run businesses owned by Catholics. They don't necessarily sell a Catholic product, let's say, but they're a Catholic behaving business. And so they will be more sensitive to these things. And so they will say to their employees, look, the baby's due in a few days. So dad, let's say it's a father working in a company, the Catholic business owner will know this because it's a small business, let's say, and they'll say to the dad, go home and help, and sure, take a few days off. Or alternatively, if it's a mom at home and the baby is due, let's say, or there's another one, or there's some the children are sick, let's say, when the cold sweeps through the entire household, then what we do is we will show sensitivity to that. And so the mother, let's say, who has a small home-based business can say, okay, we're shutting down for a few days. You just put the word out, we're closed for a few days. And then you can regroup. Whereas if you're in the corporate world, nobody cares. And you know what I mean? Nobody really cares. And so we can show greater sensitivity to this. That's how we can be strengthening the family, and particularly for the moms, because some of our clients are mothers who have children. And so they can now, when it's, rest period time in the afternoon, the mother can either rest or quickly knock off a couple of orders, or, order some supplies or things like that. And so I grew up in a family business where you could do these little things at unusual hours or when times fit your family schedule. And that is very satisfying. Final thing I'd say about that is a mom at home could have a little talk with the children once in a while and teach the entrepreneurial spirit. We don't just have to teach our children to get a job. We can teach them to be in business and be independent. And so you could have some dinner table or lunchtime conversations about it. And then you could have even the children helping. I'm not talking, slave labor here. I'm talking about the fun of as I did when I was 5 years old. I had my first fence painting job, and I think I earned, I don't know, $1, let's say. And I didn't know how to hold a paintbrush, but I was 5 years old, and I did a little work, teach a little responsibility, teach Catholic principles. It's a very exciting topic. So that's how we can be better at it.
When I'm going to put this back up on the screen. So how building a Catholic economy can keep families together at home. Are there any risks to this? So, I've dug into the Catholic economy a little bit, what you've presented on that platform. And I'm curious if some people have given you the feedback, like, well, is this like too insular? Like, don't we have to be Catholic, like out in the world? If we all are just sort of like looking in, is there risk to that? So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Are there any risks to this?
Yeah, there are some risks. And one of the most common critiques that we get at the Catholic economy, and even in our Catholic CEO, people say to me, well, why do you work with Catholic businesses? Like, why do you pick on Catholic businesses? And I always say, well, because I am Catholic and I enjoy being able to talk about spiritual matters with business people. But the risk primarily that people tell us about the Catholic economy thing is that you're going to become isolationist. You're going to exclude yourselves from the economy. You're going to become like so many other groups in society where they detach themselves completely and they go off and work independently. We're not talking about that. The risk of that is very high, that we then have no influence. We may be even more subject to what the culture does to us, what governments might do to us and things like that as Catholics. So we cannot be isolationist. But we can be interactive with the economy, but we can support ourselves. Let's say we put a pool of capital together, venture capital, angel investors. I'm an angel investor. What if we had a pool of money that would support Catholic businesses, or if we advised Catholic businesses as they start up? We're not being isolationist then, but we're working with Catholics specifically because we want to, and we can, and there's no law against it. You know what I mean? But we can help to build a powerful economy. If we become a powerful force in the economy, the advantage is that we can then change laws. We can influence the culture. And that's the thing. So that's the number one risk. The second risk is that some people say to me, well, you're promoting for Catholics the idea that they should get into business or they should help each other in these ways. What if they're not prepared? What if they're not ready? Well, of course, our answer is that there are so many talented people. And, Lisa, we've met in the last, excuse me, you'll know that I have had that sore throat trouble for a few days. It's getting better. So excuse me for coughing at you all, but we've learned that there are people all over the United States and Canada, talented people who are willing to step up and do this. And so there is a talent pool out there. We can teach each other to be effective in business. We can get rid of all these risks. I believe it.
The interesting thing that I've been observing, and I know we talked about this a little bit in our other interview and off of recording, is people in all industries, like hairdressing, sports, personal training, obviously coaching, who are not afraid to call themselves Catholic and are actually leading with their Catholicism. Roasteries, like coffee roasteries. Like I can think of so many different companies
Yes.
that maybe you wouldn't obviously link, like hairdressing, for example. Like you wouldn't obviously link, I'm looking for a Catholic hairdresser, but they as a brand have acknowledged or just simply out of interest wanted to embrace that in their storytelling. So I think it's so fascinating and interesting what's happening here with this whole concept of the Catholic economy.
Mhm.
Let's fast forward I want to really encourage, if anyone has any questions for Henry, just put them in the chat and we will save a few minutes at the end for Q&A.
Sure.
But I'd love just fast forward, I don't know, 10 years from now.
Mhm.
So like 10 years, I'll be almost 50. It's so weird to think about stuff like that. But 10 years from now, what do you hope? And, of course, the Holy Spirit is the grace is the change agent here. But what do you hope happens to the Catholic economy?
Well, in 10 years, the vision that we have is that we could have, even at the parish level, let's say, all over North America, families that want to be in business, home-based business, family business, whatever, they could receive support at their local level. So in a parish, you might have advisors who could advise you if you're trying to start a business. We could establish independent and interesting methods of financing, old style credit unions at the parish level. They've all disappeared because they all merged up, and they became almost like banks. But we could have our own financing system. And it doesn't take much to do that. We could look out for each other first. If somebody needs a job, what if there was a parish job directory? Or even in your town, a directory of Catholic businesses looking for staff. And so you'd go there first. So I could see a picture like this. We would have many more businesses owned by Catholics, creating jobs and employment and economic benefits and all of these things, but behaving Catholic. And so we would bring a new kind of civility to the corporate world, to the business world. We would bring a spirit of generosity. There might be more funding available for charity, because we would be not saying tithing necessarily, but we would be offering of our surplus to other people who need it. And so if we did this, we could start to influence the culture. And I could see us changing some cultural practices. For example, we would be known in society then as a group of people that don't support this thing. They support this thing instead. And, you could all put the examples to mind of what we're talking about here. So I could have a vision of employment possibilities, home-based businesses, income, even wealth creation, so that we can look after our families, have pensions, have the ability to have multi-generations. Could be done. And it could be done soon.
A question that just popped into my head, again, it just strikes me, you have so much experience with large organizations where planning must occur. So in a small business like mine, I would like to say I have a lot of strategy, but I'll just be honest with you. Sometimes it's like, we're going to do this thing tomorrow, and we're just going to do it. That is part of the flexibility that comes with a small business. But you, of course, have all of this experience in large organizations where that kind of spontaneity just doesn't, might not be possible. But I preface my question with this because I'm so curious your thoughts on the relationship between having a plan and maybe a 10-year plan, but also trusting God and simply being open to the Holy Spirit. What does that relationship look like for you?
Yeah, this is a beautiful concept in Catholic business. So I'll answer in two parts. First, we'll talk about the business part, which is that we can discipline ourselves in small business. We don't have to spend $100,000 on a strategic plan. We have a template, for example, a one-page strategic plan. We can do a one-page business plan. We can do a one-page marketing. We can do an analysis of the market segments for your company in a few days using the same tools, but in a micro kind of way. So what I'm getting at there is we should become smart and very effective in running our businesses. Now, let's bring in the spiritual, as you say. We could then have the faith governing our business. We could have the faith deciding for us what our pursuits are going to be. We could have higher standards of behavior. We could have a code of Catholic excellence. We could operate our businesses according to a set of principles. And so we can we can blend these two things. We can openly speak about our faith. We could have in our boardroom, instead of the standard kind of pictures that are in a boardroom, we could actually have a crucifix, or we could have beautiful Catholic art and proudly show that and demonstrate that we're Catholics, and at the same time still have the highest standards of customer service. We could produce great products. We could be the best. And so people would know that if you go to a Catholic business, you're going to get great service. You're going to get trusted advice. You're going to get good, solid, principle-based business approaches. If we do this by combining the faith with sharp, smart business practices, we can become excellent leaders in business. And again, you'll hear me say this all the time. And then we can start to influence the culture and the economy.
I love it. Oh my goodness. I want to encourage everybody to go check out thecatholiceconomy.com and of course the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna. Thank you so much for, your fiat, your yes to stepping into this ring, so to speak, of building the Catholic economy. And I'm so happy to link arms with you. Thank you for making time to be here live with us tonight.
You're welcome, Lisa. God bless you and all of your viewers and everybody. May you have every success in business and in the faith.
So good. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Guys, was that fun? Like, that was fun. I don't know. I just really, like I said, I have this very unique perspective of hearing conversations here and there where people are geographically not even connected, where, all the things where it's just nobody's I'm not planning these conversations, but when they keep coming up and these themes and these exact phrases sometimes are happening across the board, it's just so exciting and so compelling. And again, come Holy Spirit, do your thing here. I just again want to paint the picture. And again, it's not always idyllic. I really want to hear you. If you follow me on Instagram at Lisa Canning, it's not always idyllic. I'll be preparing for a live stream. I think there is still spit up on the shirt. It's just, it's not like I'm not trying to paint a home-based business as if it's like, oh, I languidly lie here and money just comes in from the sky. No, it's there were multiple children puking all week long this week preparing for this summit. I had a puker today. It was all kinds of fun. So again, I'm not trying to paint something that is not realistic. But what I was sharing, and again, my mindset coach Erin Ingold is going to be on tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. East. I really want to invite you to join us for that conversation. What she's always reminding me of when I complain, let's just be honest, I straight up complain. When I complain about, oh my gosh, I got interrupted and, one of the kids broke into my room while I was on a Zoom call, yada, 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 she will always remind me, what is the alternative? And what are you getting in exchange for, that small amount of stress? What's on the flip side of that? And again, it's not to diminish our feelings or not to be it's not frustrating when you're trying to get something done and you keep getting interrupted, but that there is a choice. You're making a choice. And as we're going to get into in a moment, how we think about our choices defines and determines the quality of our life. How we think, our thoughts, which are sentences in our brain, our thoughts are what can put us into a posture of surrender, and our thoughts are what can put us into a posture of self-reliance. So we have the choice. We have the choice. Okay. So what I want to move us into now, I'm so excited. There is a fun new way that I am presenting how you make money online. So perhaps you're in agreement with me. Perhaps you're like, okay, I'm sold. Lisa, Henry, I want to build this Catholic economy. I want to have a business from home where I can come in and out of my day, be able to be very present to my children. I want to have this choice, but how on earth do I do this? And so I have been in the game, so to speak, of online business and traditional business, I'll call it, for the last 15 years. And as I mentioned, I was an interior designer. I had a television career and I had all kinds of fun doing that work. But as I shared, and as basically the reason why we are here together, I had this implosion in my minivan where I just realized that if I wanted to have a healthy life, one where my adrenal glands were not failing, one where my spouse and I could have a healthy marriage, one where I saw my children, and one where I was able to use my gifts, but in a way that was harmonious and integrated, that I had to find a different way to leverage. And so I began to explore, what does that look like? Like, what does leverage look like? And that's where I found the world of online business. That's where I found the world of creating something and then potentially selling it over and over and over again, or creating a service like coaching, for example, and being able to do it either in a, well, from my home, number one, so that I'm able to leverage my energy and my time, and then in some capacities, group coaching, so there's truly leverage. Something that was once 1 hour for one person could then be 1 hour for multiple people. And so I am so excited to present to you a new way to look at online business, or a framework to look at online business. And one of the challenges with the online business landscape today, and perhaps you found me through a Facebook ad. And if you found me through a Facebook ad, you probably have gotten ads from multiple other online experts who are sharing that they have the secret to this, the secret to that, the, number one way to win, to fail, all the things. It is a saturated place, and it is a place where it can be very overwhelming to know what to do. I was one of those people. I invested $50,000. Like, when I say this, I'm like, oh my word, in random online courses. And I don't mean to call them random because they're not valuable, but I just would buy them and buy them and buy them. And there's this fun expression. I don't know who coined it. I wish I had coined it, but it was not me. Digital shelf esteem. I was buying these courses for digital shelf esteem, like the promise of I was going to be an amazing marketer, the promise that I could host an amazing webinar, the promise that I could close all of my consults by buying all these courses. So I funded all kinds of other entrepreneurs' dreams, which I'm happy to do. But why I'm so passionate about what I'm about to share with you is that what I learned in a very long amount of time, and why I want to give it to you in a short amount of time, what I learned was that there are 6 things that an entrepreneur really has to do to build an online business, and you've got to do all of them. What I was doing in the past was buying an online course, maybe doing 1 or 2 modules of it, and then kind of like leaving that strategy like for a rainy day, so to speak. I had invested in my digital shelf esteem, so I felt like, oh yeah, I'm really good at webinars, but I hadn't actually practiced the skill or done anything to get better at webinars, you know what I mean? Or I would purchase something else for building your email list or creating really good reels. And again, maybe I would dabble in it for a moment or for a season, but then I would kind of leave it when I found something else to focus on in my business. And what I have learned, listen to me loud and clear. If you're putting the kids to bed, if you are multitasking and watching me, like by doing dishes or folding laundry, come back to me for a moment and listen. A successful online business, you need to be doing 6 things, and you need to be doing them all. And so I am going to present something that I like to call, and I have to give credit to my mindset coach, Erin Ingold. She came up with this concept, and I was like, do you mind if I run with this? So she came up with it in a training that we did together. And I was like, can I run with this concept and give it a little bit more flesh? And she was like, absolutely, go and do it. And I am calling it the business buffet. So, when you go to a buffet and you're like, ooh, I could eat everything. I want, I want this, I want that. But if you only eat the pasta and you eat three plates of the pasta from the buffet, you might get like really sick or really sleepy. Or maybe if you only eat the vegetables, nobody does that, let's be honest. But if you only ate the vegetables, you might be like, oh, I need a little bit more like substance to my meal. So this is why I love the concept of a buffet. And let us unpack what this looks like. I invite you to take notes. What I'm presenting here is kind of what I wish someone had streamlined for me a little bit when I was an emerging entrepreneur, when I was buying all of the online courses. And I really just wish someone had been like, this is like all the things you need. So, the business buffet. If you would like to build a successful online business, you need a little bit of the following, but you need it all. The B in buffet stands for your brain, and it is mindset work. And we're going to expand on all of these in a moment. The U in buffet is understanding your customer's problem. The F is free life changing content. The F is a funnel. The E is engagement with a new audience, and it's a second E, your email list. And then the T is trust for the final sale. I was showing my children this earlier. Speaking of building the Catholic economy and having kids involved in generational business, generational wealth. And my daughter was like, that's technically buffet. 2 E's. So let's unpack what this looks like. And I've chosen to use aspects of the buffet image here as an analogy. Okay. The very first thing that especially a Catholic entrepreneur needs to develop is your brain, and it's your mindset. And I have sort of pictorialized it, or I'd like to represent it with the plate. The plate, when you think about it, is what holds everything together. If you are going to go to a buffet, and you might like pick up a chicken, drumstick and eat it with like a napkin, and then maybe pick up something else in your other hand. What's happening? It's messy. You might drop things might fall on your shirt, and it's not ideal. Whereas a plate holds your meal together, it is the foundation for everything. And some of the things that I teach my clients to ask themselves for this particular aspect of essential ways to grow an online business are questions like this. Do I trust God with the outcome of my business? Do I reject ungodly self-reliance and rely on grace as the true change agent? Do I work on my belief in myself? For those of you who are coaches, and just more broadly, do I work on my belief in myself as an entrepreneur? Mindset, as we are going to explore more tomorrow morning, live and in real time with my mindset coach. We are going to explore how mindset can unlock your earning potential. And I say that with no sort of hyperbole. Like, it can change everything for an entrepreneur. And that is why I have exemplified it here in this analogy or this demonstration as the plate. The U in understanding your customer's problem. And I've chosen to, illustrate this as the protein and the vegetable of your meal. Because for me, this is the core of a business succeeding or failing. You can create amazing graphics on Canva. You can create, like all kinds of fun reels and all kinds of fun things. But if you don't really understand the problem that you solve and you're not consistently communicating it, those fun things might get you a lot of buzz, might get you a lot of hype, and they might get you a lot of eyes, which is great. But what makes people pull out a credit card and invest in you is when they know that you can solve their problem. And so, do I know the unique problem I help people solve? AKA, have I identified my niche? Do I know how to solve my customer's problem by identifying my customer's success path? What do they need to succeed? Do I know my client better than they know themselves? This is a huge one. And this we can find out through customer surveys. This we can find out by having real time, real life conversations with people. And do I have belief in my client? Meaning, do I actually think that this person wants to change, wants what I have, will invest in what I have, and so on? So, you understanding your customer's problem. F, free life changing content. And I've chosen to illustrate this with the rice or with the carbohydrate. And this is very intentional because this is where I see some entrepreneurs sometimes get, again, you can live in Canva and create a bunch of fun graphics, but we're not doing the other elements. And this is where, carbohydrates can sometimes, they're so good, they're so fun, they're so delicious, but in excess without the important parts of a meal can be dangerous to our health, can create glucose, not to get too into, macros or whatever, but we need to ensure that the problem that we're solving is communicated in our content, in our website, in our social channels. It's a great thing for an entrepreneur to pick a forward facing platform to build their content on and stick with it, where they can also then pick an avenue where you are building intimacy with your client, with building a deeper relationship. I find Instagram stories is one of those ways that's very successful at doing that. And then this thing here, do I have enough confirmation I am solving an actual problem my people can identify they have? This is really important when we are pursuing content. Okay. The next component is the funnel. And I have chosen to use the utensils. Because so when you think about it, when you're at a buffet and you're consuming your food, you are typically using your utensils. That is what a funnel is. A funnel is essentially a way that your content, your product, your service is going to get into the mouth, so to speak, of your customer. And so, do you have a platform where you can build an online funnel? Meaning there is some kind of like steps where it's like a Facebook ad, for example, or a great piece of content, which then leads somebody to a link maybe in a bio, for example, if we're talking about free content, which then leads them to some kind of a way to engage with you, which then leads to an invitation to a sale, which then finally results in a sale. A business isn't a business until you have a way to charge people money. Like you've got to be able to charge somebody something. And so whether it is a funnel on something like Kartra, which is what I use in my own business, or whether it is literally a PayPal link or a Venmo request, that can be a funnel as well, but you don't really have a business until there's a way for somebody to give you their credit card or send you money. That's the F in buffet. The E, engagement with a new audience and building your email list. Double E here. So, where I find sometimes entrepreneurs can focus is they'll focus too much on, for example, the free, like the content that they're already creating for an audience that exists already, but they're not thinking of how am I going to attract new people. And so I've chosen to demonstrate this or illustrate this with the water. We've got to constantly be refreshing or refilling, so to speak. We've got to constantly be on the lookout for how new people are going to engage with us. And my favorite way to do this is by creating things like lead magnets. And we're not going to go too much into what a lead magnet is today. I invite you to Google that. This is something I do obviously with my coaching, but there are so many ways that you can build a lead magnet, like a cheat sheet, like an ebook, like a 5-day challenge, like an experience with you, where people are giving their email in exchange for some kind of value. And this becomes so powerful in building an audience and creating, obviously, relationship and future customers. This is something that cannot be ignored. And then finally, trust for the final sale. And I've chosen to use the napkin as a way to illustrate this, because when we're done our meal, the final thing we do is maybe dab our faces with our napkins and our meal is done. And so this again is sort of related to mindset, but it's very much about, do I have belief in myself and in my product? And am I actually offering it to people? I think this is another area where many entrepreneurs can get a little bit hung up. They can have products, they can have amazing content, they can have a good understanding of their customer's problem, they can have a funnel, but they're not actually doing anything with it, meaning it's kind of just sitting there on the internet and they're not consistently making offers. This is the buffet approach to building a business. What I like about the buffet, and I'm really curious, feel free to let me know in the chat. Does this resonate with you as well? Is a buffet approach. And the reason why I like the buffet approach, my friends, is because there is a visualization. Again, if you go to a buffet, you get to decide how much of each you get to pick. And again, to just follow this food analogy, we know that if we ate 3 plates of pasta, we would probably like fall asleep at the table. And again, like the analogy, if you only ate the vegetables, you might be maybe like wishing for a bit more protein, like it might not be filling enough. I hope that this illustration gives you a good sense that you need a little bit of everything to have a complete meal, to feel nourished. And again, to bring this to what I'm trying to do here, which is help you to build a business from home. You need a little bit of each component instead of what I was doing for so many years, which was kind of like diving into the carbohydrates, so to speak, for like a season and then forgetting about everything else. Diving into, picking really great utensils, like building a great funnel, but then kind of forgetting about doing things like building an audience and nurturing the one I already had. When we truly take a buffet approach to business, the buffet approach to business, this is when I believe we can be well on our way to a thriving online business, a thriving network marketing business, a thriving business from home where the Catholic economy can be explored. I believe it is so possible. And so I want to ask you now, and feel free, again, put your questions in the chat. Put your questions where I can see them. Which area of the business buffet do you want to grow in right now? Which area of the business buffet would you like to grow in right now? All right, I've got a vote for mindset. I have got, let's see here. What else are you guys telling me? I've got a vote for mindset. I've got a vote for trust for the final sale. Keep reflecting, on what has been working for you already and where you need to grow. The chances are, if you're not where you want to be in your business right now, it's because one of these elements is not firing, so to speak, or there has not been enough of that serving. I've got here on Facebook, forgive me that your name is not here, just this is what it looks like, but FNE from somebody watching on Facebook. Way to go, everybody. what do you think of the buffet? I think this is just like I think the other thing I like about the buffet is that you control your portions. I know I'm really going here with the food, but like, this is what I love about a mom discerning business, because you can decide how big your portions are. You can decide what is going to, make it on your plate. And what I would encourage everybody who is listening to remember is you've just got to remember there has to be a little bit of each thing in the business buffet. Go to the buffet. It's okay if you can't, go full in and get like the whatever, the full chicken. I don't know. You know what I mean? But there needs to be little, you could amuse bouche it, okay? A little amuse bouches. Everything can be appetizer size, but you can grow, start, build a business from home by following the business buffet. And you can do it in a way that allows you to show up well, to be at home, and to explore what this looks like, to incorporate like just all the dimensions of your life, be able to authentically live out your Catholic faith, not just in the sacramental life, but in the building of the domestic church, where you're able to be present for the raising of your children. And so I want to give you a little taste of some of the other interviews that are available to you when you join me at the Possibility Mom Business Conference.com and gain access to 60 incredible interviews.
Without God, I would not even have started this business. His hand was all over it, making me passionate about wanting to create things and use my talents. And I got to kind of be home with my family and be really focused on what mattered. In that exact same time, my business took off.
We don't need to be afraid of what God is calling us to. The dream that He has called me to has actually involved my whole family. And it hasn't brought me away from them. It has brought me closer to them and has made me a better mom and has made me a better wife.
Because God wants it for you and has chosen you specifically for this task, and the world will be robbed of your light if you don't do it.
God doesn't want us to be perfect because He wants us to rely on Him. That's the approach that I take. Instead of expecting perfection in myself, to look to the one who is perfect for help instead.
All righty. Let's see here. We've got all kinds of fun responses. I'm seeing understanding your customer's problem. People want to learn how to engage with a new audience and build their email list. Way to go, everybody. Thank you for participating in my polls. We've got a lovely person on Facebook. I wish I could see your name, but lovely person on Facebook saying, love the buffet model, Lisa, and that this looks amazing. I'm so glad that you feel the same way. So again, reminder, if you have just stumbled upon this, if you are looking for where you can get the 60 interviews, the possibilitymomconference.com, it's right below this video. If you're watching me live right now, right below this video is a button where you can, or a link where you can go and access all the interviews. And I want to remind you that it's completely free. There is a VIP upgrade that you can get, so that if you don't think you're going to be able to watch all of these interviews this weekend for free, then of course I invite you to grab the VIP pass that allows you to watch beyond the weekend. But you can totally just dip your toes in right now. I want to just make this point really quickly before we go on to our final section of the evening. And that is, I will get approached by people in my DMs who say, like, why is it so expensive to hire a coach? Or why does it have to be such an investment to start a business? Now, there are a bunch of interviews inside of this summit on the value of investing in yourself. When someone is ready to invest in a mentor, for example, I talk with a beautiful Catholic accountant about keeping profit in your business, the beautiful Amanda Texera from Wallet Win. We've had 2 conversations in this summit on money and keeping your business healthy in that way. But I did want to provide an option because I get it. I get that it can be challenging to put money into something when you are not sure that there's going to be a return. Again, I have all kinds of thoughts about investing. I have never regretted investing in myself, but I also was at a place in my past where I was like, this is way too scary and I have too many things that my funds need to go to. So I really wanted to provide an option where you could truly listen to content and then have enough information that you could move forward and start an idea. Tomorrow, we are going to be breaking down the buffet into further bite-sized pieces. Oh my goodness. Breaking down the buffet into bite-sized pieces so that you could, by the end of the day tomorrow, test out an idea. Get onto your social media and be like, hey, I'm starting this. What do you think? And so I really wanted to create this with that concept in mind, an option for people who want to dip their toes in the water of business in a way that is not so costly. Because again, what happens when we trust the Lord? If you are called to business, He's not going to leave you alone about it. I hate to break it to you, but He's kind of sneaky that way. Or not sneaky, you know what I mean? I'm being playful. But if this is His desire for your life, it's going to keep coming up again and again and again. And our human instincts, of course, are going to sometimes, oftentimes, all the time for me, lead us to a place of fear, lead us to a place of, oh no, lead us to a place of like protection and I don't want to change. And this is neuroscience. Our brains keep us safe until we inform our brains that there is another way. This is why it is so difficult for people to stop eating chocolate. This is why it is so difficult for people to start working out again, because your brain has basically been conditioned to say, no, it's safe to always sleep in until, 9 o'clock. Or no, it's really safe to not put my body through all of this exertion until we can show our brains, actually, this is for our benefit. And so again, my invitation is take the business buffet, take some of the things discussed in the interview. And honestly, I believe that you could implement simply from this free conference and just see what happens. Help your brain to see, hey, you made some progress there and it didn't harm you. You went on Instagram and invited somebody to look at a page that you have something for sale on. Look, you put something on an Etsy page. Look, you promoted Beauty Counter. Look, you XYZ. This is how we make progress. Action breeds incredible clarity. And from a neuroscience point of view, it allows us to build that muscle and show our brains you actually are okay. I think this is a really, really great place to bring up virtue. Virtue, like we were talking about with Henry Katarna, is simply something, again, on this side of heaven, we are all going to have to deal with. We're all going to have to grow in. Our fallen human nature, again, our experience of life on this side of heaven, we are not, it's just not our state. We're not able to be like God and be perfect in that way. We're going to struggle with humanness. And so what do we need to do instead is grow in virtue. And I am a big believer that business, if you are called to it, can help you immensely grow in virtue. And so, what I want to do right now is share with you one of the interviews that is available to you. And it's on this topic of how a business can make you holy. So I want to invite you to grab your drink of choice. Right now it's 9:36 East, so it's 6:30 for some of you on the West Coast. So I hope those of us on the East Coast, you're winding down. Those of you on the West Coast, if you're still putting kids to bed or what have you, I just want to invite you to pay attention to this, grab a drink with me, and listen to this incredible interview. In 5. This is always me when I'm trying to share my screen. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Weakness made strong. This is always my thing. I'm like, okay, come on, Lord, help me out here with my sharing of screens. Okay, here we go. One more time. Here we go. Welcome back to the Possibility Mom.
Same skill set that God gave to the apostles, that God gave to disciples. And we say, well, why wouldn't I deploy that same skill set when it comes to starting a business? And so I realized that there's a parallel between those two phenomena, and that the two actually can help each other. It's not that business takes us away from faith. It's that actually it can help our faith, and that our faith actually doesn't take us away from business. It can help our business. And so I just see right there some really important message for us to get out and share with people.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So, were you in business before you became a priest, or did you just sort of see this parallel very clearly?
I was an entrepreneur, but not in a glorified sense. I became a priest very young. I joined religious life and consecrated myself to God at age 22.
Okay.
So, but before then, I had to pay my way through high school, pay my way through college. So I started my own company making rosaries, actually, and trying to sell them to different places. And then just in my different other experiences with working a lot of different jobs at that area. But no, and that's what's neat. Actually, I take my knowledge for business and I bring it right from religious life. And all these books behind me that I've read, and when you've read that many books and you realize that there's the business guys and gals are saying the same things in their books that the saints are saying. It's just a slightly different language. But if you can't tell me that if Saint Therese of the Child Jesus, right, was her own mother was working and had to work making lace, and well, that's an amazing thought. And that if you were to take Saint Therese and you were to make her a missionary in China, you don't think that she'd be building buildings? that she'd be, finding ways to solve the problems of the orphans? Of course she would. Well, how do you build a building when you're raised to be a nun? Well, exactly. You stretch. You become an entrepreneur. And so it's like a lot of people, then we become moms and we're like, now I have to stretch into my business, but I don't want to. And I can understand that. But you just have to take that same mentality of like, all I'm doing is reorganizing my activity, right? That's what business is. Don't think of it like some sort of science or some weird thing that you have to be gifted in. Think of it as I need to reorganize my activity such that the result of my activity is greater than the energy I put into it. Right. And that brings about a coefficient of efficiency that a lot of people are, we don't like. And I get it, because you want to be moms, and I want you to be moms. God wants you to be moms, for heaven's sakes, It's just that if for some reason you're forced into business, or you have this call from God to do a business at the same time, try to get over thinking of it like some sort of alien concept. Say like, okay, I'm doing the dishes. What I need to do for this family is make doing the dishes something that makes more than just doing dishes. Well, that's the beginning of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you said so many things that I want to respond to. And I coach a lot of moms who somehow have gotten it into their heads that if I do any activity, so I'm not even thinking business, I'm even thinking like take a nap, get my nails done, like, but of course, for the context of this summit, it's pursuing business activities. And they think that, well, if I do anything that takes me away from my children, somehow I'm failing them, or somehow I'm not as holy. I coach a lot of moms who sort of compare themselves to a mom that they see as content at home and only focused on the home. And they think I should really be like them. Like, so what would you say to a mom who kind of has that mindset or has that story in her head?
That she's wonderful. Like, who wouldn't want a mom that feels that way? I mean, that's the most beautiful heart you can imagine right there. And that's a gift from God, So I think you got to keep that. You can't, the fact is that is holiness right there. I mean, that's God. So you got to keep that. It's just that reality is that you can't necessarily keep that, either because of financial constraints or because of health and psychological health, which is a big part of it. I mean, the realism of life is that we have to constantly balance the boundary between me and you, right? And that's something that we may not have been reared very well to have that skill set. Well, we got to acquire that, because if we constantly put the you before me, if we love, then we'll never get to me. But the fact is, when I'm serving you as a mother, I'm taking out of the well that is inside of me and giving it to you. So I need to take care also of me. And that might, if you understand it in that sense, it's not that you're taking away from your children. It's actually that you're giving to them. Now, when it comes to business, a lot of moms, I can understand that. And again, if you can stay at home and just mother, I say just do that. It depends. Sometimes God put it on your heart. And then, well, okay, well, then that's between you and God. Don't question it. Go for it. It's just that when that happens, I don't want you to think that somehow that's necessarily taking away from your children. And here's why. You're also showing your children that they need to believe in themselves and their relationship with God, even if it causes sacrifice. You're giving them an accomplished mother in a worldly sense, which is not a bad thing to have at the same time. And you're giving them common sense life skills that they're going to need as well. Like, hey, get more out of what you put into something if you're going to put something into it, right? Like, well, that's a neat life skill to have. So don't look at business just as a negative, is what I'd like to say. And that can just kind of help you also to say, I mean, like, I'm giving my children a mother who fights and a mother who accomplishes. And that's no small thing. And that's not putting down mothers who don't do that. It's just saying if that's your call, look at the positive at the same time. There's a lot you can learn from it.
I love it. Okay. So I think if I were to narrow it down, like if I were to really analyze what people are afraid of, is I think they're afraid of the fight in a way. So for example, I've got 9 children. There's certain realities that come with having a lot of people. So like I got to make dinner for 9 kids. I've got to change several diapers. Like, so I think the thing that people are afraid of, or if I may interpret or assume, um, is that fight. So when you have, the need of the family, but you're also like, oh, I got to get that email out, and that tension that can sometimes exist. So how do we, I guess, number one, I'd love any tactical strategies you have for just the orientation of energy and attention. And then how do we persevere?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Lisa, and you really know your people, because that is right there. I think that most of the time where moms struggle is that they don't feel like they should be struggling. And as soon as we settle into the fact that it's okay that there's tension and that I am okay with, then you're able to endure like nobody else. The toughest people on earth are moms, because the thing about mothers is you never stop. You go from, not just when you got 9 kids, that means you're going to have 37 grandkids in about 25 years. And they're going to have 87 great grandchildren. And the whole time you're mothering, you never, and each name and each birthday. I mean, you guys are absolutely amazing. You're a gift from God. So, but the thing that gets at you is when you're like, and I should be doing it perfectly. I should be beautiful while I do it. And I shouldn't have any stress with business. No, you relax into that and you say, okay, Jesus, this is between you and me. And you've given me a harder road. I wish I didn't have to have this. And I wish I didn't have this certain psychological makeup that makes it just so hard for me to succeed with that tension. But you know what? You do. And that's where I actually think this business can be a huge blessing, just like motherhood be a huge blessing, but because it exposes your cracks. It shows you that this is where I need to deepen my faith and trust in Jesus. You would never even know that you were capable of being afraid until you started to risk things. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I have high anxiety. Whoa, that's okay. Don't have a problem with having problems. The only real problem is when you have problems with having problems. Okay? Having problems is not a problem. Having problems with having problems, that's the problem. And so relax into it. And then you can, I remember one time I was talking with one of my mentors about my different travails as I was, starting my ministry here. And he said, remember, this is the fun stuff. and he was serious. And I thought, this is not fun. This is the fun stuff. But actually, he was right. What he's trying to say is, hey, another time I was complaining to the same mentor a couple of years later about the same stuff. And he goes, you know what is true, Father Nathan? You have a very hard life. But aren't you glad you have the chance to do it? And that's the message I would give to you, moms. Yep, it's tough. It's okay that it's tough. Aren't you glad you have the chance to give something back to God like that? And aren't you glad you have the chance to serve the world with your talents? So you're serving your kids with your heart and your mind and your soul, and you also get to expand that. There are a lot of stay-at-home moms that secretly wish that they could engage in what you're doing. And that's the truth. The grass on the other side, you talk to them and they're like, I'm just a mom, and I spend my time building them up saying, you're not just a mom, you're amazing, because it's true. But at the same time, hey, you get a chance to do something that a lot of people would love to do and don't regret it so much.
So, oh gosh, you're like, I don't know if I've got tears.
We just expand the interview, Lisa. We're having a great time here.
It's it's just so beautiful, and thank you, because I think it's a relatable feeling. We just got to accept that struggle is going to be in our lives. This is something I really struggle with. I struggle with accepting struggle. It's like there's this reality I want to not accept that exists. So when we are in the time of struggle, because I mentor a lot of women who want to grow their business, and they want to grow their business for wonderful things. Like they want to build the kingdom. They want to ease the stress of their husband. One of the interviews on the summit is Henry Katarna, the Catholic CEO, and he speaks so much about moms and dads being able to have businesses at home so that they're just simply more available to their children. Like they're able to, come out of meetings and have meals and whatnot, and lessen the stress of potentially commuting and all those things. Not everybody can do that, of course, but it's a very interesting thing to posit. So, but when we are in that struggle and we are perhaps tempted to be more fueled by our passion than by reason and will, how can we stay the course? How can we remember exactly what you just said, to just like that trust God and that this is a gift? How, in the moment of struggle, what's like a really great strategy to stay the course?
Talk to your husband.
Oh,
If you're blessed to have a husband, what a blessing. Listen, I love being celibate. That's my gift to my God. It's my wonderful joy. But you are so blessed to be married. There's a blessing on both sides of the fences. Your blessing, so you have someone whose job it is to support you. Now, if they're not supporting you, then you got to go back and work on that first. Because like, hey, wait a second, you guys are a team here, so. But if he says, okay, we're a team, I'm going to get behind you, then you need to, at the same time, throw in that little extra hook that says, and here's the deal, it means emotional support too. So I need you to encourage me. And when you give the man, sometimes what women will do or wives will do is you just want them to guess at it, because that's how women think. They don't really want to just say stuff. It feels cheaper. It doesn't feel like love or whatever. I don't know. But listen, he's not going to guess it. Unless you have a really awesome man. That could be. But most guys are like, So you got to tell him, I need you to support me and encourage me and to believe in me and to say all of that to me at those moments. And then that's what I would say when you can't handle it. And we all can't. We all get those breaks. I told you, I call my mentor, and he sits there and, says, there's great things that I remember. Well, you have a husband. Talk to your husband. And because he also has a God-given authority and a God-given blessing in your life to guide you at exactly those moments and to guide the whole family. And if it is too much, well, then he's going to help you to see that. You're going to help. And the two of you are going to say, then we get to pull back. That's another thing I want to say about this, Lisa, is like, yeah, you're in this venture because of God, because of whatever. You don't know if it's your pride. You don't know if, listen, it's okay to try and fail, that all you're doing is reorganizing your activity to try to make it productive of more than what you put into it. That's all you're doing. And so like, it's okay, try it. And if it doesn't work, you can pull back. There's no such thing as failure. There's only just trying and then not trying anymore. Put it that way.
Oh, I love it. Let's talk about that concept that you keep mentioning, which I love it. It's, and forgive me if I paraphrase incorrectly, but the output you make yields more results than the energy required. And it's so fascinating because when I look at the early church, I just watched The Chosen for the first time. I don't know why it took me like 2 years to watch The Chosen, but it's been such a gift to me to just sort of, again, in that Ignatian imagination, if you will, like just sort of imagine what it would have been like for the early church and whatnot. But it is so similar to business. You're telling somebody something that is true that will help their life. And then you're like, okay, go and tell other people about it. Like that's what marketing is in a way. So talk to us about that. How is that so important? How do we remember that? How does that act out in our businesses? This
Keep talking, Lisa. I don't think that's quite yet the question. You're almost there. Like, what are you looking for?
Is how can we ensure that, because this is something that I know a lot of my moms struggle with. I'm working so hard in my business, but I'm not seeing the fruit. It's like it's costing me so much time, but not this yield that.
And it'll happen really fast because moms don't have time to waste. So you guys are like, okay, I'm going to give a shot at this, and then it's going to come back better. And then like within a week, you're like, I can't do it anymore.
Yes, exactly.
So, I want you to look at it differently. I want you to look at it as God has given me certain talents, and I am going to deploy them for Him as an act of love for Him. And I don't have to do any better than my best. And my best might look not like everyone else's best because I have 4 screaming kids and I have a high anxiety level and I'm in a bad mood. Your best at that moment is not the same as your best when everything's clean and your husband's in Florida with the kids and you can just work your tail off, of course, or what you did in college. So get rid of like what you think you can do and instead just say, all I have to do today is love Jesus with my talents. When you do it that way, then it's like, yeah, I'm sacrificing, but it's more like I'm engaging my talents. I would say to try to find a business move that really aligns well with who you are, because it's so much easier to make your business an act of love when it's an engagement of who you are. And I could keep going, but I don't want to keep, I want to make sure you could ask like, does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's so in line with what I teach. I'm constantly encouraging moms. We're in such a unique time in history when you truly can take lessons you have learned, like your lived experience, and that can become a business. Is everyone called to this? No. Is
No.
everyone meant to be an influencer or encourager or coach of some kind? No, of course. There's all kinds of ways you can do a business. But for those who have felt that call, it's just it's practical, like the amount of leverage you have from your own life. So I always like to encourage people, just look at your life.
And then it becomes, it's really not a business for you, it's a gift. And yeah, you're making money on it because your time is valuable, your resources are valuable, your sacrifice is valuable, but that the profit isn't the goal. And I want you guys, even if you're doing, and when I go and talk to companies, I tell them this: profit is an effect, it's not the goal. The goal is the service that you're putting out there, the product that you're making. And when you're proud of that product, then yeah, it might not pan out. It might be not worth it, but of course it was worth the sacrifice. I'll say this is a little thing. It's a Father Nathan original, so it could be wrong. Whenever it's a Father Nathan original, it's probably wrong. I think you're never really successful until you're able to fail. Meaning like, you're in the right spot when you're like, it could all end tomorrow. And you know what? It was an awesome ride. And that's the sign of a happy and holy business person. If you're constantly saying like, it's not worth it, then like, wait a second, like sit back and try to enjoy it again. I'm deploying my talents at the service of God. How could it not be worth it? It might in the end not be worth it, but like it was worth it. That makes sense?
I could talk to you all day long. Honestly, this is such a gift, such a blessing. Where can people go to learn more about you and your work?
stjohninstitute.org. And that's SAINT, johninstitute.org. And we've got everything up there. We got a little blog too. So if you subscribe to the blog, we'll be posting stuff on there and you'll be able to follow and enjoy.
Thank you so much. How good was that interview? And I apologize that the audio was not there at the beginning, but you can go into your portal. And again, if anyone has any problems accessing their portal, feel free to send me an email, info@lisacanning.ca, DM me on Instagram, and we will help you out. But you can see the full Father Nathan interview there with full audio. But the thing that I want to highlight before we end our time together is what he says about struggle. And that sometimes we can equate struggle like we're failing. And instead, what if we embrace struggle like picking up our cross? But of course, again, in our humanness, we can appeal more to our passions than reason and will. And we can be like, nope, don't want to do that. Nope, I don't want to do anything that's going to put me in some kind of challenging, embarrassing, whatever. Like, nope, don't want to do that. But can we remember? Can we remember what we read? what we hear from the lives of the saints. St. Francis de Sales, don't get upset with your imperfections. It's a great mistake because it leads nowhere. To get angry because you are angry, upset at being upset, depressed at being depressed, disappointed because you are disappointed. So don't fool yourself. Simply surrender to the power of God's love, which is always greater than our weakness. Without God, we cannot. Without us, God will not. This is the power of being a Catholic entrepreneur. This is the power. If you are called, if you're watching this, you're probably called. But if you watch this and discern and determine that you are called, you don't get to do this alone. You get to do this with a Lord that can part seas, that can raise the dead. Like, you are not alone. We are made strong because of our Lord. So we can boast of our weakness. This is where entrepreneurship becomes a game. This is where entrepreneurship becomes fun, when we can truly surrender. Doing that in practice, of course, can be difficult, but it is so possible. I believe it is possible. I see the possibilities. I see them in my own life. I see them in the lives of the people that I have coached. And again, when it is difficult, that is when we are invited into intimacy. That is when we are invited into greater relationship with our Lord. Our businesses can make us holy. And that is what I want to set the stage, set this stage for the rest of our weekend. You have access to 60 interviews. You can binge watch a few tonight. And then I want to invite you to come back and join me tomorrow, because what we're going to do tomorrow is continue expanding on this concept of the business buffet. What does it look like to make sure we have a good plate? Make sure that we have the right protein and vegetables and the right amount of carbohydrates. I'm going to be walking you through the buffet and expanding on those further, so that by the end of tomorrow, you could truly, if you wanted to, pick up your phone and make an offer. Obviously by the end of the day tomorrow, you're not necessarily going to have like a funnel built or what have you, but you could have a concept for a business and feel confident to try. My friends, thank you for joining me on day one of the Possibility Mom Business Summit. A reminder, go to thepossibilitymomconference.com to grab 60 interviews free for the weekend. You can upgrade to the VIP if you want to have access to these for the entire week, or beyond the weekend, rather. There are some great resources that each of the presenters have made available to you as well. And I just want to encourage you, if you're going to binge watch a little bit tonight, enjoy. And I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. East, right here, for even more fun and engaging content. All right, ladies, thank you. Possibility Mom Business Day 1 is in the books. See you tomorrow for day 2.